is being recorded, yeah, from now, and the recording will be shared through the Covenant of Mayors channel, together with all presentation, well, which will be showed today by our panelists. Please switch off your microphone and camera during the presentation. I very much encourage then you to ask any question in the chat box that we can then forward to our speakers and panelists and address in the Q&A section. Please indicate also your country, city, or entity, or whom you belong to, so we can understand a bit better also your question. I also suspect that you are familiar with the various online conference platform by now after 3 years, but if you experience any issues with Zoom, please let us know. Also write directly to Max, and we will help you solving the problem. Sorry, I cannot move the presentation. Yeah, before introducing our speakers, why this webinar for small and rural municipalities, I would like just to share with you a really few and basic numbers. So probably most of you already know this graph, this image here, but it's interesting, I think, to see how in 2021 roughly 40% of the population was living in cities, but about 55% was living in towns and suburbs, and roughly 25% was living in rural areas. And at the same time, rural areas represent around 80% of the total European area, as you can see here in the yellow color. And I would say that these are impressive numbers, no? So 25% of people living in rural areas and 80% of the total European area covered by rural. At the same time, smaller rural municipalities are facing common problems for the implementation of climate and energy related measures, and we will focus later on this aspect. So just to give a quick introduction of our estimated speakers, it is a great honor for me really to introduce the first group of panelists that are representing an amazing bunch of 3 European DGs, represented by Caterina Fortun from DG CLIMA, Georg Oben from DG ENER, and Silvia Nanni from DG AGRI. And they will present fantastic opportunities for local authorities and stakeholders in general, opportunities available through the European programs and initiatives, such as the European Climate Pact, the Smart Cities Marketplace, and the European Rural Pact. In the following slot session, practical methods and approaches to overcome the common obstacles for the development and implementation of the Sustainable Energy and Action Plans, or joint SECAP, are presented through the examples of the Central and Eastern Europe Sustainable Energy Network, presented by Alice Vollmer from the University of Tartu, the joint SECAP of 4 small municipalities from the marvelous Monte Vesuvius area in Italy, presented by Luigi Acquaviva from the Joint Office for Environmental Sustainability, and final but not least, the SECAP of the municipality of Gabrovo in Bulgaria, presented directly by the mayor and member of the European Committee of the Region, Tanya Ristova. During the last part of the webinar, you will have the opportunity, the possibility to ask questions or share input. So again, I invite you all to put your question or comments in the chat box. And I think it's a great opportunity for you, where you can ask directly to amazing experts from the Commission, but also from other municipalities. So I think we can now start with the presentation. Last kind request from my side to all panelists: please try to stay strict on time with your presentation, as we have a tight agenda and we need space at the end of the webinar for Q&A session. And without further ado, it is my great privilege now to give the floor to Caterina Fortun from DG CLIMA. Caterina, please, the floor is yours. I don't know if Caterina.
I think Caterina is not there yet, so maybe better to start with
I think
Georg.
we can go directly with Georg. Georg, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Let me just quickly share my screen. So here we go. Just 1 second. Yeah, So here we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm Georg Huben. Some of you might know me, some maybe not. I'm in charge of 3 local initiatives in DG Energy. There is, first of all, the Covenant of Mayors. There is the Smart Cities Marketplace, on which I will give you a short introduction, and the Covenant of Companies, a new sort of pilot initiative looking specifically into local companies, into SMEs, and how they can contribute to the clean energy transition. Now, let's dive a bit deeper into the Smart Cities Marketplace. Today's topic is really on both developing but also implementing SECAPs. And to this end, the Smart Cities Marketplace might be a very interesting partner to actually do that, do the implementation with the help of private financing. So here we go. The SCM in a nutshell, if I may say so. So what does the Smart Cities Marketplace do? It helps to explore, shape, and set up smart city projects, as simple as that. So we provide the knowledge, the hands-on knowledge, the do's and don'ts, the DNA of a good project, and help to shape that into something which is then attractive to investors and banks to ultimately close a financing deal at the end. That's pretty much the DNA, the core business of the marketplace. And then we employ a lot of other things to really make that happen. Now let's look into the process. We have an engaged stage. The engaged stage is very much where the marketplace also interoperates a lot with the Covenant of Mayors. For evident reasons, the Covenant of Mayors has a lot of cities, a lot of rural cities, also small municipalities and towns, which quite usually are not covered by European programs. So there is a sense in really engaging with those cities and helping them to actually create their visions, ideas, and put them into practice. Then explore, as said, seeing and learning what's next. That's really all about what solutions do exist, what have others possibly already implemented, and can I actually repeat that? Can I build on that experience? And can I use that for my own municipality or my own local context? Shape is about fine-tuning these projects into concrete and, let's say, bankable approaches, which can then, in the deal stage, which is the last step of the process, receive financing by closing a financing deal with any of the investors of the marketplace's investor network. And of course, I said it already, more or less, we are building a lot on synergies because we are truly believing that the offer on EU level is huge, but also possibly confusing at times. So what we also work on very, very concretely is making this sheer offer on EU level of various different initiatives in various different areas, actually, of urban interventions, to make that really work, following the process of the marketplace. So really picking this and that, the key knowledge from all these different initiatives, and put them on a silver plate so that cities, rural towns, and all other local stakeholders can pick from that and actually go into the shaping and implementation of these actions. And that is, of course, very relevant for the SECAPs too. So the SCM as a knowledge hub, I said it already, we have this core process, but we also employ a lot of things to actually accompany that process. So first of all, we have a full-fledged database on smart city projects. You can really get your heads around what exists, what did other cities do, and can I possibly connect to that and take that approach and replicate that in my own city or rural town. We also have a so-called self-reporting tool. The H2020 projects and some of the other projects have reported using that tool. So you would find as a result a lot of monitoring data, a lot of concrete measure data, which helps you understanding what impact these actual measures did have. So you can also estimate whether that's an approach which is also interesting for your respective city. Then in terms of knowledge, we have solution booklets, very concrete and simple booklets, which show on a few pages how certain solutions work. What are the prerequisites for these solutions, what you have to have in mind in order to implement them, and give a few really concrete examples where these solutions have already been implemented. So really, if you want a crash course in these respective areas to get yourself really into it and then decide on further steps. In addition, we have policy papers, which are more aimed to, as you guess it, policymakers, but are also a source for, let's say, a deep dive into respective policy areas, so to better understand what are the shortcomings, what still has to be done, which might also be applicable and useful for local decision makers. Then we will soon have, and that's why there is this watch out tag here, we will soon have a fully integrated wiki. And that is something which is a bit revolutionary, at least for European Commission websites. We want to have a fully agile and flexible knowledge management structure, pretty much like Wikipedia. So we would have an overarching sort of guide or map for using the wiki, but then you could actually start with a very simple bit of knowledge, and you can dive deeper as you go, as you do with Wikipedia. So really bringing all that knowledge, which is now in a flat structure, we bring that into context and make it available in the most possible agile and flexible way. So I'm quite looking forward to that, and I invite you to keep an eye on the website for having that insight as well. Now, matchmaking, I said it already, the core process is making it work for cities. So really providing the knowledge to, in the end, have a number of projects which are implemented with the help of the marketplace and fed back into the community as source for information for possible replication and upscaling in other areas, districts, towns, and so on. And this is our investor network. It is a growing network, as you see, because it says expanding. But we already have quite a number of interesting infrastructure investors there, and we are opening up to other areas. We possibly also do that with the EIT. The EIT, Urban Mobility, is a partner in the Smart Cities Marketplaces team, the consortium. So we might also have access to equity funding, equity financing, for example, for startups or small companies, and so on. Consultancy in masterclasses, this is something we specifically do to fuel specific areas. We bring together stakeholders which are in the process of shaping projects and those who have already done that. So really this peer learning, but we also hear the voices of investors to really have an idea what investors expect to be able to implement these projects. So one of the tools is masterclasses, but also the one-to-one consultancy, which is an in-kind service, which has quite a value. For all of you who have already been in touch with consultants, might know that this is a quite costly item, but it is also very effective to get your project over the last mile to be actually pitchable to the investor network. Last but not least, we have also community, the focus and discussion groups. We are constantly looking into synergies, how we can attach these focus and discussion groups to topics of relevance in other initiatives. We want to bring together stakeholders either on a certain topic with the outcome of a two-pager, which really gives an insight into that topic based on the discussions in these groups by experts, by city representatives, companies, and so on and so forth. The focus groups go a bit deeper. They can have, as a result, as much as a project, a concrete project, which can then be entered into the matchmaking funnel for financing. Now, the SCM community numbers, just have a little glance on this. So we have a growing community, and the marketplace is on several channels available and provides, of course, knowledge and news and events and all that on these channels in close collaboration, by the way, with the Covenant of Mayors. We've really teamed up in this respect, and I quite like it, how this evolved over the last few months and years. And you will find more information on all these channels, and I cordially invite you to join us. And that's it already. I hope I have used my time and not too much of it, and would simply be around for possible questions and answers later on, but would otherwise kindly invite you to consider the marketplace as a place where you would possibly find concrete help and concrete support for realizing the bits and pieces which are in your SECAP with the help of private financing, and possibly even more than that. Thank you very much for your attention. And now I give the floor back to Andrea. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Georg. Actually, you got already one question, and Pat Michelle already addressed it. People were asking the link for the self-reporting tool. So amazing. I think this was a really great overview of the opportunities offered by the Smart Cities Marketplace for the implementation of climate and energy related measures. And it would be great, I think, to see in the next few years the developments and how this will impact the proliferation of such projects on the local level. As Caterina from DG CLIMA is having IT problem to access, I would now give the floor to Silvia Nanni from DG AGRI. And Silvia will present the opportunities rising with the European Rural Pact and the support offered for the European rural areas. So Silvia, it is great to have you here, and I would like to give you the floor, please.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. I'll just do the same. So I'll just share my screen and then put it in a way that you can see it. Hopefully you can see it now. So thank you very much to Andrea and the Covenant of Mayors team as well for having us today. It's going to be complex to follow Georg's presentation because we are a very new animal. So hopefully a little bit more on the content as well of the initiative, and then we'll get you through the more practical tools. So I'm from DG Agri, the unit D1, who is dealing with the rural areas and the common agricultural policy networks. And in fact, in the last few years, I would say from 2021, the Commission adopted a communication, which is the long-term vision for the EU's rural areas. This is a very new animal, interesting one because it's also championed, let's say, by 3 commissioners under the chapeau of demography and democracy, of agriculture, including rural development and also cohesion and reforms. So very much looking, if I may say, at rural areas and the involvement of all rural actors, including rural municipalities, from a sort of a holistic perspective, which is a jargon to say we try to look really at rural areas beyond agriculture and across all the themes, so mobility, transport, digitalization, for instance, energy, which are, just to name some, very important for, we think, the development of rural areas and keeping really rural actors engaged and involved in the areas where they perhaps were born, in fact. So the communication was launched in 2021 in June, and really I think the novelty of the communication is that it tries to bring together the views of all the European actors living and operating and working in rural areas and try to achieve them through 4 pillars to make them stronger, connected, prosperous, and resilient by 2040. So we gave ourselves as Commission through the action plan that you see on the right-hand side of the screen, but also the Rural Pact, an opportunity to make sure that rural areas and rural actors are involved and kept engaged actively where they are. And the most important part of today, it's not only looking at the Rural Action Plan, which is more for, let's say, actions under the Commission and various services involved, but also looking at the Rural Pact, which is the most bottom-up approach that we would like to you to know about if you don't know, or you to be engaged with if you're interested. So when it comes to the vision, there are 2 elements. So one is the toolkit on EU funds that we are developing. The GRC is championing that, and this may interest you because it's going to be a very practitioner-oriented toolkit on looking at how all EU funds, but we are open to go also beyond that, also at a more national and regional level, can actually be accessed by, for example, rural actors or rural municipalities. And this is because we notice, as Georg was saying before, that of course it's complex for stakeholders to grasp in some cases how to access the EU programs and EU funds, but also how to combine them. So the toolkit will be available in December this year in 2023. And we'll really focus on giving the opportunities according to the type of stakeholder, the type of actors you are. But for example, if you are a rural municipality, you will be able to select and filter the funds available to you, and actually also increasingly look at how you could use those funds and combine those funds for the project you have at local level. So we are trying to make it really a practitioner's and very practical tool. You will not see many slides on this because it's still under development. So we will have more information in the coming months, and we'll happy to share with you where we are. Where I'd like to focus today is on the Rural Pact, as Andrea was saying. The Rural Pact is in fact a space that and a framework that the Commission created, but for local actors, national authorities, regional and local governments, as well as civil society, NGOs, and all businesses and academics working and living and operating in rural areas to really come together and act locally, in particular, but also at national level, depending, or towards the shared goals on the vision. We have a proposal for the Rural Pact that was endorsed last year, in fact, and this is really meant to be our big project, let's say, for the years to come. What are the objectives of the Rural Pact? We really are hoping to amplify the voices of rural areas, of rural municipalities, for instance, teaming up and bringing them together in order to influence not only the EU agenda, but also the agenda at national level and of course at regional level when necessary, but also bring a space for networking, collaboration, and mutual learning. In particular, to be more concrete, we are developing what we call a rural revitalization platform that will be actually a space online where the Commission will facilitate, will give a space to all actors for having an exchange of best practices, but also do engage in meaningful discussion depending on the needs. So it will be a space available where all rural actors and municipalities will be able to interact with each other. And of course, we are open to make it linked to the many initiatives, including the Covenant of Mayors that is of course been there for many, many years. So we would like to build on what is of course a very successful initiative. The third part that I'd like to dwell on for 30 seconds is the commitments. So the Rural Pact is not only a space for bringing rural actors together, municipalities, networking, but it's also a place where we would like more and more rural municipalities in particular, but also all actors to commit to meaningful actions at local level. And at the moment, we have part of the community of the Rural Pact, more than 1,850 members, and more than 115 commitments to act really at local level. What does it mean, a commitment? For example, a rural municipality commits to create, for example, an energy community, for instance, to address actually the needs that are their needs actually at a local level. So these are the kind of commitments and actions that we would like to see more and more developed, not only to have them really just on a website for the sake of recording, but more really to build a community that is active at local level depending on their needs. So we invite you very much to join the community. We'll see the link in the presentation that we'll share, but we are very happy also to speak with you and have meetings with you and just explain better also what do we mean by community and what are the advantages for you, but also encourage you to think about what commitments and what action you are already doing, which are many, I'm sure, and how we can, if you're interested, can be portrayed as well as part of the Rural Pact, which will inspire others to do the same and inspire collaboration as well in rural areas. So I'll try to be very brief, but we leave you the slides, of course, with the contacts, and we are very happy as well to follow up to this presentation. Thank you very much for having me today. Back to you, Andrea.
Amazing, wonderful. Thank you so much, Silvia. I think it's great to see that the support offered by the European Rural Pact, and I'm sure that local authorities will find inspiring reference and materials in your presentation and in the links that you are sharing. And so I understood that I see Caterina Fortune here. Thank you so much for joining despite the IT technical issues. So Caterina, please, I would like to give you the floor for the next 7-8 minutes, presenting other amazing opportunities coming from the Commission. Thank you, please, Caterina. Do you want? I'm going to share the presentation for you.
Super. Hi, hello everyone. I'm really sorry. In the office, and it's actually worse than working at home. So unexpected not to be able to join you earlier. Yeah, Andrea, thank you for showing the slides. So I'm connected from my cell phone, so I hope I can read it. So indeed, as Silvia was saying, also in DG CLIMA, I know to you it's all one commission, but I guess you also know it from your home governments that we are divided, and we have agriculture, we have climate, we have energy. So in CLIMA, where I work in Directorate General for Climate Action, we also have deep understanding that it is about climate policies, that of course we have the vision of European Green Deal. Most of the legislation has been adopted. So that was the main goal of this commission. We also understand that we need funding. So as Silvia was also mentioning, more and more funds are targeted to European Green Deal. So also the European Regional Development Fund, the European Social Fund goes to green skills to really be prepared for this new economy. Because we have new targets, so not only that we committed to become climate neutral by 2050, but we also increased our climate targets for 2030, because of course we have to make sure that we are on the right track. And we understand that this is possible only if everyone is on board. So the biggest challenge is how to implement these ambitious climate policies, and also how to implement it with everyone on board, how to make sure that it's not just for few privileged people or privileged cities, but that all cities can go through this transformation, all people can actually benefit, and that this new climate laws and legislation, and I call it new economy because I'm an economist, so I do see that it's such a transformation of economy. It's not, it goes beyond the circular economy. It actually brings together many business models, but also the biggest model is the change of our behavior. And I can imagine that you in municipalities, it must be very difficult to actually communicate on these changes, communicate on the sustainable energy and climate plans. Sometimes I hear that it's even difficult to get the common understanding in the municipality to actually agree on the plan, and how to get people on board, how to actually communicate that these changes are about prosperity and not austerity. So we need citizens on board. And today I will talk more about the good practices and how you can engage with citizens. So next slide, please. Yeah, so we launched the European Climate Pact. Indeed, as Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the Commission, launched the European Green Deal at the beginning of her mandate. She also understood, as I said, that we need people on board, that we really need this connector with people, with citizens, not only ministries, not only municipalities, but how to reach out to citizens and to connect them also with member states, with multi-level governance. And that's the reason why we launched the European Climate Pact. So it is also a space, a living space. The aim is to raise awareness of climate action. The second main goal is to encourage action. So to support everyone who is interested with practical tools, how to actually implement climate action, to inform about good practices. And the third aim is to connect people. So to have this European umbrella, let's say, how to connect people not only within their local territories, but also at European level. Now, the importance of citizens' engagement in local climate action is key. It's essential because I'm Katarina, working here in DG CLIMA. I'm an official in the European Commission, but I am Katarina at the number one. I'm also mom. I'm a citizen in Brussels, so I care about Brussels. So it goes back to really that we are people, and we want to live well. We want to breathe fresh air. We want to feel safe. So how to communicate on these changes that are ahead of us? So one of the initiatives that we launched within the European Climate Pact was the Youth Climate Pact Challenge, because we strongly believe that engaging young people is essential because they have lots of energy, they have plenty of ideas, And it's actually about them. It will be their reality, their changes. They will be living a bit different life. So we launched this Climate Pact Challenge. We invited young people to present projects, how to address climate issues, what kind of actions are needed. And we wrote a guideline, a toolkit on how to organize it. So you can visit the website of the European Climate Pact, and under resources, you can see how to run such a climate challenge for young people. But of course, you can open it up, how to run it at local level. So it's a guideline, a few pages, what we learned, what's the best. Of course, the best would be to have a budget, because we didn't have budget. So it would be great if there is also budget, so then you can actually implement these projects easier. But also many projects were more about connecting. You know, we had projects how young people wanted to actually work with schools, and maybe like a painting contest that the children would would paint the school renovation, and then they would be more involved in the renovation, and they would learn. So instead of renovating the school during the summer holidays when the students are out and they don't actually feel involved, so there was a project how to involve students. So they were interested. Oh, okay, so we do refurbishing of the house. We also put solar panels, and it was also interesting for people that were deciding, for students that they were deciding maybe on future skills or employment. So it's all about like how to give it a twist to what we do in daily life, and how can we include people more, or how can we allow people to get them on board and they can be more empowered and decide more. Next slide. So the second important tool that we found is a game. It's a card game invented by Climate Fresk. It's a French NGO that is now offering this game around the world. The game was translated into many languages. Actually, it's about images, so you don't need much translation. But how to use the game, how to play it, you get also instructions in all languages. I think we have 54. Now, the Climate Fresk, if you're interested, I'm not going to go into detail, but if you just Google Climate Fresk, you can find a fresker in your area. So there are freskers in all European countries, and you can get in touch and they can come to you, to your municipality, to your town. You can organize a workshop. It's usually free of charge because it's the first workshop to engage people. You can connect your school, local schools, with freskers so they can run this workshop in local schools. And you can also encourage people to take the second training with the fresker and to actually become the facilitator. And it's really easy because in 3 hours, first you play the game. And if you like it, you have an additional training of another 3 hours, how to use the game, how to run such workshops. So it's very easy also for teachers to learn, or if you have people that are climate activists and they would like to learn how to run these workshops, so you can maybe support it in your municipality to provide premises or to raise awareness of these workshops in your town, in your municipality. Next slide, please. I'm aware of the time. And then the third very important action that was really a great lesson that we learned, and that's why we are promoting it, is to meet people. Here you can still see us with masks because it was during COVID, but you can see Mr. Timmermans, the Vice President of the current Commission. He's responsible for Directorate General of Climate Action and the Environmental Climate Portfolio. Now, he met with young people, and we did a long co-creation process of 5-6 weeks where we were meeting the young people. We were we opened space. So they came with the ideas like, what do they want to talk about? What kind of questions? So they were working together already some weeks before, and then they met in Brussels. So you can easily replicate this at local level. I'm sure that young people, or also any people, we just focus on young people because last year we had the year of youth. And also we understand that climate policies are really, very much the core business of young people and all of us. So you can you can either a mayor can meet young people or citizens, or even people like I also run such workshops, because people are happy to meet a policy officer, policy analyst who can explain the policies. We meet, we discuss, we share. Also, we can manage expectations, saying, I hear you, we will write a report, and the report will be sent, for instance, to mayor. But of course, higher you go, better it is. So meet the citizens. Next slide, please. We also have a toolkit. So the fourth action that I would like to bring in today, it's the toolkit for the European youth engagement. Again, it's why is it for young people? It's not only for young people, but it was elaborated by young people. And the aim was that they would like to send it to all schools and youth organizations to encourage and support other young people to communicate about climate action. So this toolkit, you can also see it in our resources. It says like, the typical sentence, who am I in the big system? It should be the government who should take care. I'm just a simple person, and actually I want to enjoy my life. And why would I go to some like restrictions? And why would I choose plant-based diet when like other people don't? So this toolkit provides you with arguments and twists how to actually talk to people in inspirational way, not judgmental or criticizing, but inspirational way. Actually, how do you feel if you eat more vegetable and fruit and cereals? It's about health. It's about biking and choosing your body, walking, biking instead of a car. And of course, it has to go hand in hand with systemic changes. So it's nice to bike, but I need a bike line. So I'm sure that also you will receive more requests from citizens. Once citizens are more empowered and they know more, then they will also request bike lines. They will request probably public transport, maybe some cars that could be shared. And for instance, car sharing can be funded also by EU funds. So I already know there are municipalities, especially small ones, where they actually placed, I think 6-8 cars with different sizes, so for different purposes, and people can use it. And the mayor, he is very active in this sense, and he's trying to explain actually the prosperity of car sharing, because there is also a nice car. For instance, I think that he even mentioned Audi, and maybe not everyone can have such a car, but you can rent such a car, So it was also interesting to listen to that story, how car sharing can be explained in what you can gain by having actually more cars. So also when you need to transport something, you have a bigger car. So actually it's very rich for the municipality. Next slide, please. And I think this is the last tool that I would like to present today, and it's called Peer Parliaments for Cities. So we also prepared Peer Parliaments material. It's a material for a debate. So we have 3 fields: sustainable consumption, sustainable transport, and energy. That is fair and green. And again, it's a material that you can use freely, how to actually gather in small groups or at school or with friends and run such a debate. And then you have an option to report. So it could be also a way. We did this peer parliaments with citizens across Europe, and then they were reporting to Europe because it was within the conference on Future of Europe. So maybe this would be also a tool how people could actually gather information, interest, requests from groups, from their peers, and then send it to you. Is the peer, I have a question. Is the peer parliament based on the citizen jury concept or develop something different? Well, maybe I would like to hear more about the citizen jury concept, because I don't know. How far does it go? The peer parliament is more about really gathering it's first like raising awareness, because very often you learn already in the debate. And second, it really makes you think, what do you need to make a green choice? And of course, it's very appealing if these choices go to a mayor or to someone who decides things, or to regional government. Now, this would be a great tool, for instance, if you need information from people, because what we hear, that cities, they really try to engage citizens. They make a call. They usually invite people to come on Saturday, and then there are just few people that show up, or no people show up. And honestly, I can understand, because I'm very busy in my work. I have 2 kids. I feel I'm always busy, and I'm interested, but I'm not going to sit somewhere on Saturday the whole day in Brussels, in some municipality, because maybe, it feels too much at the moment. So I also thought, how would I get involved? So if I have a peer parliament where a friend of mine, or I would run it as well, I'm interested, and I would gather friends. So it could be a quite nice gathering with friends that I would enjoy, and we would discuss this, and then we would write down what we think. Then I would be really happy to send it to a mayor on a specific theme. So I myself experienced that different format can actually engage people differently. It would interest me, but the question is like, why would you join? So maybe this is the question, no? What do I need? So I join, I participate, and you probably know people in your municipality, so you know how to engage them. Next slide. I think I'm probably over time. So this is actually what I was just talking about, how to invite people to participate more, so how they actually really develop their local collective narrative. Because the best thing is that the initiative is proposed by people. It is demanding, but it also pays back. So we have some good examples where we invited people over. Of course, you need to make it interesting. So they were proposing what would they like to change in their town, in their small town. What would they need? And once they also understood different prototypes of people. For instance, one outcome of this workshop was it was in a Czech small town, and there was not much trust in the municipality. So actually, when there was one-stop shop at the municipality on energy subsidies, it was not very popular. But then one citizen actually proposed that why don't they put the one-stop shop in a library, because it feels very neutral. And it was such a success because people would feel free to go to the library and check the information, check what they can do with the houses, and the subsidy scheme was much more successful. So it is about engaging people, and so they actually develop their local narrative. What do they need in their local level? Forgetting about the Green Deal in Europe, because it is about local action. And then what is prototyping the action? Like, what would they need so the citizens actually act? And then it's a beautiful collaboration, and usually these projects really happen because the citizens are then advocating for the projects. And the last one, I think next, and this is just to tell you also, I see I have more actions to share. We also developed a network of climate pact ambassadors. And to me, this is the most successful scheme because it's about people. We are in era of artificial intelligence, of computers, but at the end, it always goes back to people. And I'm changing my habits, not because I read IPCC report, but I'm changing my habits because I see other colleagues, for instance, in work, that they bike and they change, and I listen to my friends, and actually this changes me much more. So the Climate Pact ambassadors, the aim is to meet people that are climate activists, that want to change something, that actually believe in this. And so in your small town, you can connect with people that are active and create such community, because then within the community, there is so much power. So if you have an action at the municipality that you want to do, and you work together with people that actually believe in it, like together you can implement it. So like we also have grandparents that are super active, you know, and they are so happy to go to schools and engage in some actions, or like even prepare some material with teachers, you know, because they might have more time. So it's really essential to not to create community at local level, to meet people, like-minded people. Yeah. And last one, this is just the website of the Climate Pact. So you see that you have resources, you can explore. There is much more than what I mentioned today, but yeah, I would also love to hear if you explore it. Please feel free to write to me and tell me how did it go and what would you need in future, because we are continuing with the Climate Pact, so we can also develop something that you need. Yeah, and I think with this, I believe this is the last slide. So thank you very much. I hope that you could hear me through the phone. And thank you, Andrea, for passing the slides. Thank you.
Wonderful, Caterina. Thank you so much. Okay, you took a bit longer, but I think that the topic was too much. Is really too much interesting, especially for small municipalities where, let's say, that the power of community it's really higher. So really, thank you so much. I'm sure that all municipalities will find really inspiring tools that you just presented. So I see that in the chat several questions have been already addressed. So thank you to my colleagues, Georg, Petya, and everybody for addressing it. You already addressed one question, so we are a bit late. So from the European level, I will go directly to the ground reality. So now introducing the next three speakers. The first one is Alice Vollmer from the University of Tartu, presenting the CEESEU project, the project where we are co-organizing together this event. So Alice, please, the floor is yours.
Sorry, now you hear me. Thank you very much. Thank you, Katerina. Very interesting, inspiring, and we are doing similar things also in the CE region already. So, and you gave us some more additional ideas that we will definitely take up from your examples. But to business. I am representing the Central and Eastern European Sustainable Energy Network that has been brought together to join different actors in Central and Eastern European countries who are working towards more sustainable future, green transition, energy transition, circular economy, and things like that. We are, that's our fancy logo. We are aiming to be sort of like an umbrella or a central point to help people be on the same page and share knowledge and share experiences so that we can jointly achieve the EU 2050 climate and energy neutrality goals, and make sure that the rules and regulations and different activities will be adapted to the CE conditions, because we are our history is, because of our history, we are a little bit different than the West Europe. So we can't just take over what our Western partners are doing and just follow suit, but we have to adjust and adapt so that we can be as successful and reach the goals and become more sustainable and more energy secure, especially in the light of latest Russian activities. Then energy security and sustainability is absolutely crucial for countries bordering our unpleasant neighbor. And how do we do that? Basically, we have kind of like divided our activities into two streams. One is to increase the capacity, basically bringing in the knowledge and increasing the knowledge of the actors on the ground in regions and in local municipalities, as well as actually we also work a little bit with private sector and with local citizens. For example, when developing citizen energy communities and things like that. And in addition, we are sort of like being the link to create opportunities for our engaged members and our stakeholders on the ground, so that they can connect to other actors in Europe, in other countries, as well as on the EU level, so that our needs, our visions, our expectations are heard and understood also outside of the region. And well, basically this phrases it in a nicer way. We are trying to be sort of also, when I said an umbrella, we're trying to be the voice to Europe, so that we are regularly making overviews. How is the situation in the CE countries? What are the main barriers? What are the main gaps? What are the solutions that we have come up with, the success stories? And we communicate that to the European level as well. So when we're talking about what exactly we are, the CEESEU Networks was first created in 2017 as part of the Panel 2050 project funded by the Horizon 2020 funding program. And it was formalized actually last year, where it is a specific legal NGO that is organizing as a separate entity. So we're not reliant only on the project consortium, but we are a separate NGO that can accept members and can actually move forward with different advocacy and training activities. We have 11 founding members from CE region. We are currently working actively with about 36 regions where we are supporting them in implementing SECAPs. That is the main of our activities right now, is basically bringing the SECAP movement from the covenant mayors to CE region, so that they can actually benefit from the strategic planning for energy security, climate adaptation, and energy transition, and also you know, be a role models for other regions, other municipalities in the vast region, which is the Central and Eastern European countries. You can see also Germany on the map. No, they have not become the CE region, but Germany is marked because Climate Alliance is Andrea and Max are our members as well. And Climate Alliance helps us to actually a lot with this knowledge transfer from the Covenant of Mayors and European Union to the region in that sense. And on the slide, because you will later get the slides, you can click on the links and you can look at the platform where we have a lot of information, a lot of materials that we have been developing that you can use to support your local level transition on different activities. And you can become a member. We currently have about nearly 2,000 members across the countries. And we are actively growing and building up the network to become more and more active in being sort of like a supportive and also sometimes driving force behind the local level green transition. And so that you would also maybe hopefully open your calendars and mark September 6th and 7th, because that's when we meet in Budapest for Sustainable Municipalities Conference, where we will focus a lot on energy transition, energy security especially, as well as the sustainability and climate adaptation activities that support the local communities and actually increase their resilience in terms of unstable energy markets, as well as the climate change related changes in our surrounding environment. So I hope to see you in the conference as well. So I was very quick in terms of trying to say, get back onto the schedule. Do you have any questions or maybe ideas? Or you can also leave them in the chat or contact me later directly if you want to know more.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alice. I think it was really great, and municipalities can be interesting. So yeah, I think it's good. Maybe we can have a really short break for questions. Should you have any questions for Alice, please ask now or write in the chat, and Alice can address it now. Meantime, I think we have only one maybe half open question here in the chat, because Petya Pismisheva just replied. It was a question for Georg for the Smart Cities Marketplace and also the link with the energy poverty. I don't know, Georg, if you have something to add here now.
Yeah, and it specifically is the question is, Georg, from who else? I think, let me see. It was here from
Anna, no?
Anna, I think. Yeah, it was from Anna, correct.
Actually, both questions came from Anna.
Yeah.
I mean, I already got confirmation in the chat that Anna is using the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub quite oftentimes. So I sort of misread her question. It was more about how do we actually embrace engaging with, let's say, the more needy cities, the disadvantaged cities, I guess she wrote. Well, it's not so easy from an EU level perspective to directly get involved with these cities. However, I gave a few hints also in the chat. Like 70% of the urban population live in cities below 100,000 inhabitants. So it is quite evident that we have to sort of find approaches which work. I can confirm for the Smart Cities Marketplace that they are actually tasked to look specifically into that population, and where possible, help aggregating the demand. That means that for cities which are not having the capacity or staff or knowledge or whatsoever to go for this sort of full-fledged, fully bankable approach, we would help shaping these approaches together with other cities in the same situation to aggregate demand. That means that we would come to a somewhat bigger investment sum or investment ticket, bringing down the risk for everyone, but also making the project approach of the action more attractive to a possibly interested banks and investors. So really trying to take it from that angle. The other thing is I might share is that we were thinking about, but that's of course really brainstorming level, so you cannot quote me on that, please. But there is thinking going around something like a gap filling facility of some sort, pretty much along the lines of the EU City Facility, that is really providing small pocket money or small immediate technical assistance to these kind of cities and entities. That would also include, of course, small companies, because the local level is not only made up by city administrations, there is also a lot of small companies which are, you know, included in this sort of context, and which very often bring innovation ideas to the city hall. So that is a bit of an idea which is currently cooking a bit. Of course, I don't know where this leads to, but that was one of our thoughts. Yeah, so whatever we can do, I mean, I mentioned the focus and discussion groups of the marketplace. If there is any concrete interest to launch a specific group on that very topic, I also want to make aware about the Small Giants focus group we have under the marketplace. This is specifically made up of and for small and mid-sized cities. I stop here because I don't want to eat more time, but please get in touch or bother me with further questions in the chat. I will try to keep up with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georg. So if there are no further questions, I would like to give the floor to Luigi Acquaviva from Italy, and we are looking forward to hear from your experience from these 4 small municipalities from the Mount Vesuvius areas for the joint SECAP. So Luigi, please, the floor is yours. Yeah, we can see it.
Good morning. You can see it? Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to speak about our experience in the south of Italy. Thanks also for the very interesting and inspiring presentation that you had before. I'm going to tell you what we've been doing in the last 6 years in the metropolitan city of Napoli, some municipality of this area, especially 4, the ones that you can see there on the screen, for a total of around 60,000 inhabitants, have joined together using a provision by law that a municipality could work together in some specific area of intervention, or for everything, not getting to the point of being becoming one municipality. So they work as if it was one, but in reality, I mean, they're only working in this case for specific action. So what we did for them was to try to push them to get them to work on environmental issue and especially on energy and climate issues. And from there, we moved to work with 3 of them to do the SECAP Vesuviano, which is the Sustainable Energy and Climate Plan. Here there are some information about the area and also the location and some just few economics figure that you can see on your own afterwards. As I was saying, I mean, the strongest value that was achieved by the municipality working together was to create these USCAs, which is a Joint Office for Environmental Sustainability, which is funded by the same municipality for a total of about less than 80,000 euro per year. So the 4 municipalities share this budget. And with this money, I mean, they support all the activity that are going to finalize processes, organize new activities on top of what each municipality is already doing, and especially in this area. For the SECAP in particular, I'm showing you some of the objective in terms of emission targets. As you can see, 2 municipalities, San Giuseppe Vesuviano and Striano, had already a SEAP before a SECAP, so they had already some targets for 2020, and then the third one joined in to have this joint SECAP for reaching in 2020 minus 60% roughly of CO2 emission. What was then done following what was the USCA strategy, we used the budget that was provided by the municipality to create a one-stop shop, which was in reality the facilitator. And this one-stop shop, we will see some image afterwards, I mean, will move from one municipality to another on a yearly basis and on weekly basis. I will tell you more further on. Sorry, I jumped one. Oh, that was it. This is just a recap of what were the main action in the area of mitigation, adaptation, and cross-sectoral that were within the SECAP. As you can see, there are the classic energy activities that you can imagine within a SECAP. We added a good bit of also circular economy, which normally it is not there. I mean, but in reality, that is another key issue that is normally you are tempted to deal separately, but we imagine the SECAP as a sort of a strategic plan for the area, for the territory. So we try to combine all the activities that were around protecting the health within the SECAP itself. The other part that I'm very interested to speak about is the cross-sectoral, because one thing that is more important, and we saw it also from the previous presentation, is the importance of information and communication, which is it has really changed the world and the capacity of people of participating and being involved. So one of the main issue for stakeholder involvement is surely the capacity to inform them and to communicate with them, and because that is also what has been the new potential that has come out with the use of all the social media. We tried to communicate in all the ways, from the simple logo that for the SECAP, but also going for anything that was done was always branded and very much there was a storyteller around it. I mean, it was a large story of communication that was included, and also this came all from the budget that we mentioned before, and that was coordinated by the one-stop shop. The other 2 things that are in the cross-sectorial is the use of a green infrastructure public platform. I mean, one of the things that we had to do is to help citizens to understand that despite the fact that some of our surrounding, we are near the volcano Vesuvius, so it looks like green infrastructure is there. Why we need additional infrastructure, green infrastructure in the city? We help them to understand that in reality, what is there is fine, and it will be safe until we don't do something wrong, and we use the wildfire of 2017 that destroyed almost a quarter of this green infrastructure on the Vesuvio as an example. But at the same time, we need additional green infrastructure because that is not enough. We need it because we need to ensure that there is enough capacity to produce and to regenerate air that we need for breathing, but also to give the soil the capacity to collect water, also rainwater that comes from above. And last but not least is the capacity at local level, which I'll come back also later, of the local administrator and municipal staff to be able to carry forward what will be otherwise only a plan, a written plan, which no future. One of the main issues to write SECAP is the data, and the data access, at least for Italy, is still a big problem. I mean, it's quite easy to find national level data, or some of these data that you see have been gathered through the help and the support of a special group of engineers that works on georeferential information. But again, it becomes a very specific and costly issue if each municipality or each group of municipality who write a SECAP needs to do this. So that is one really of the main barrier that we found. Some of them, still you can see some of the data that are still at national level. So at local level, there is very little that can be available. Some of those information we managed to gather also participating to direct funding from you with the Horizon 2020 project, or through other lines of project like the project for youth. Here you can see, for instance, the study of the solar potential and biomass potential using a tool that has been developed, so that's called Hot Maps, that is available online for anyone. But we use the Horizon 2020 project Path to LC to work with this, and using and having access to research people who could help us to gather and understand what was the real situation.
Sorry, Luigi, just to say 3 minutes. Sorry, 3 minutes more for you. We are.
Are implementing the SECAP, as I showed you. There are different sources that are coming. One is the recovery fund, which I want to go back on it. The other one is the private public partnership, and the direct funds that I mentioned before. We went through Horizon 2020 and Erasmus Plus just for piloting action, and also for the work that I say of gathering more information. Some of these, like the recovery, happened that the coming in of the recovery fund activity of the local municipality. The first one, the municipality, if they are small, they don't have enough capacity in terms of staff to manage different projects at the same time. And recovery fund is a time frame that is very strict. So everything that was not recovery plan has been put aside, waiting for the recovery fund to be used, and then after that we will go back and work on other issues. So that means that even projects that were already on the way ahead for getting almost to find resources, they've been parked because recovery fund has a priority in terms of time frame to be used. Then I go back to the competence that are local, but also at the regional level in our case is not available. If you think that our region also is only for enterprise and something in agriculture that is being budgeted from the ERDF funds there for refunding agricultural enterprise that have been damaged from heavy rain. And this comes from most likely from the lack of commitment at the national and regional level on these themes. And on this, maybe there should be more pressure from the EU side.
Luigi, sorry, can you please
fact
come
that we
to
don't
an
have
end
this
in 2 minutes?
competence. Yep. I mean, these are the slides that you will see. There are only action that are already been undertaken. This is the one for monitoring air quality. This one is for developing a tool for a circular initiative, so anyone can check with this tool if its initiative is a circular initiative or not. These are all available online. Then this is another thing that we did, developing and creating an infrastructure for EV charging, but also a car sharing network. And last but not least is the one-stop shop that I mentioned before, where we work also, as I said, on the logo and on the communication part of it. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Luigi, really, for this amazing presentation and super inspiring. And now we are coming to the end. So I'm super honored to give the floor to Tanya Ristova, explaining the experience, the great experience, I would say, of the municipality of Gabrovo in Bulgaria. So Tanya, please, the floor is yours. Maybe Luigi, can I please ask you to stop sharing your screen, please? So then Tanya can share.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to be together with you. And especially I would like to thank for the very useful information that was shared with us during the first panel, and also to mention that everything that Luigi mentioned in his presentation is very much relevant to my country and to my city as well. I'm trying to be sure that I will share the correct, no, I'm just doing something wrong, but I will just a second. Can you help me with the presentation that you have? Because probably I'm wasting time, and we'll try to navigate together, because I do not know why there is this problem with me. Or at least I will try again.
Yeah, just a moment.
No, I managed.
Okay,
I managed,
okay,
I managed.
wonderful, wonderful.
So, well, as I already introduced myself, I'm Mayor of Gabrovo Municipality, and today I will focus the information which is to be shared with you on our Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan. And before starting with this, I would like to tell you where exactly we are. In Bulgaria, we are located as municipality in the central part of Bulgaria. Actually, here on our territory is the geographical center of Bulgaria. We are a mountainous area with a lot of green infrastructure and a lot of green and forest territories. Actually, we are among the territories in Bulgaria which has very big percentage of Natura 2000. Our territory is not very big, and our population as a municipality is less than 7,000 because of the last census that we have, and we are in accordance to our standards medium-sized municipality. Here on this slide, I would like to share with you how ambitious we are and how many activities and goals we have involved in our strategic plans. And I'm very proud to say that we became last year part of the Horizon Europe mission for at least 100 climate neutral and smart cities. And in order to get this very ambitious goal, 2 years before, at the end of 2020, we were announced the winner of the Green Leaf competition, which actually allowed us to get a lot of energy from different stakeholders, involving as well very much our citizens in implementing different green initiatives and mainly working together with citizens, which is crucial for the achievement of any type of policies. We are also a member of the Covenant of Mayors, which helps us to be very much engaged in different projects which help us in developing our energy policies. And we are also a city which is part of the UNESCO network for creative arts and creative arts cities. And also for the period 21-22, we were one of the cities that was awarded as European Entrepreneurial Regions. But in the field of energy efficiency in Bulgaria, we are among the first that worked in this area in a systemic way. And in 1997, we were the co-founder of the municipal energy network, Eco Energy, which is actually very important for introducing and implementing energy policy with the local authorities. And I'm privileged to be the chair of this association. In the period since 1998 until 2021, our municipality was implementing for the first time an integrated system for street lighting. And in 2013, actually, we joined the network of a Covenant of Mayors and developed our sustainable energy plan. I already mentioned what happened in 2021 and 2022, but would like to have very little attention showing that after becoming a member of the Covenant of Mayors and developing our sustainable energy plan, we actually started working very actively in the field of achieving this goal that at that time was set to reduce CO2 emissions by 20%. Actually, the results of the final monitoring of the green gas emissions that were achieved during the implementation of our sustainable energy plan indicated that we have overpassed our goal and we decreased our CO2 by almost 33%. And therefore, we became even more ambitious and decided after the year of the Green Leaf Award to develop our sustainable energy and climate plan, which was endorsed at the beginning of 2022. And at that plan, at that moment, we declared that we would like to achieve at least 40% decrease of CO2 by 2030. But now, being one of the cities within the Horizon Europe platform for becoming a climate neutral city, we are working very actively to increase our goals and with different tools and different initiatives to be much more ambitious and finally try to reach the goal to become climate neutral by 2030. Here on this slide, you can see some of the achievements that we have made in the periods that was in focus and that was measured after the implementation of our sustainable energy plan. And although we have reached a lot of advancement, we still have a lot of challenges, especially in the field of introducing energy efficiency measures in all types of buildings, which are closely referred to the emissions. Also, the private and public transport is a big challenge, but now I believe that this tendency will be transformed. Waste management in this field, we have achieved a lot of progress. And of course, we are engaged in our SECAP to become green, smart, and sustainable. And our sustainable energy and climate adaptation plan, I have to say, is very well embedded in all our strategic plans, which are mainly developed in line with the European priorities, and for which we are mainly relying on the European funding, and of course, providing complementation with our financial resources, a synergy which has proven to be very efficient in the previous years. Here, very briefly, because the time is very short, I will focus what we are doing in some of the key areas related to the implementation of the objectives of our sustainable energy and adaptation plan. Of course, the areas are with buildings, air quality, urban development, street lighting, transport, water, waste management, soil and forest preservation, and of course, very much working with citizens and other stakeholders. It probably will be interesting to know that my municipality with main city Gavrovo is accommodating the majority of the citizens. Approximately 90% of them live in the city, but we have in our territory 133 small-sized villages located in the beautiful surrounding areas, which are also very important, and they should be, I believe, much addressed with the new funding opportunities, because this is also a new venue for working in the field of reducing CO2s and also implementing sustainable and innovative models. On this slide, you see some of our renovated public and private buildings, a policy which is very important for us. And since 2015, in my country, a program for public buildings renovation, not public, but multi-family building renovation started. This was a very challenging period because citizens were very reluctant at the beginning, but now they are very much engaged, which was thanks to the successfully implemented pilot projects, and also a big part of their engagement is as a result of the energy crisis and the pragmatic approach that we have with them, trying to provide them useful information and to engage them in different initiatives. During the first phase of the national program, we managed to renovate together with the citizens approximately 30 big buildings, and now just 6 days ago we uploaded 84 application forms for 84 multifamily residential buildings that will receive financial support for retrofitting from the Resilience and Recovery Plan. We have managed to renovate all our educational public buildings, and we are now focused on the next steps where we plan, and we are in implementation of introducing other installations for renewables and upgrading their efficiency. And something that we did just this month, we developed proposals for the building of the municipality and for the building of one of our museums, and we hope that they will be evaluated and will be financed, because the ambition is to have them as a very high energy class. Air quality is something very important, and in this field we are working not only with our own initiatives and projects, but we are also very much happy to have a public-private partnership with a software company that developed a platform and installed some monitoring systems that measure the quality of our air in different parts. And at any moment you can see what is the quality air, and also some other indicators like radiation, and we have also some metering of the level of our main river. Of course, very closely related to the clean air is what are our initiatives in order to develop environment, our public urban areas. And we are very much engaged in the years to introduce holistic approach in this field, especially in our quarters, renovating not only the streets, but also creating green areas, areas where there are zones for bicycles, for cycling, and also introducing energy efficiency, street lighting, and also providing for the areas where people can have recreation, and also a lot of zones for children and their families. All these investments are accompanied by video surveillance, and these solutions are constantly integrated in our systems. We are very much proud with what we are doing in our city with regard to the street lighting, and especially with our last project, which we developed for quite a long period as a preparatory phase, but actually the implementation happened in the heart of the energy crisis. And this helped us to significantly reduce our cost for energy in this street lighting obligation that we have. And at the moment, we are at the final phase of the design of the monitoring report that will measure really the exact result of this contract. This is something as an approach that brings a lot of positive elements, especially for public authorities, because we are not in the position to invest a lot of money at the initial phase of this project, but it is very much a balance between the needs and the expectations of the public authority and the opportunities of the private company that provides the best technical solution. Again, related to the
sorry, Tanya, we are a bit over time. If you can come closer to an end in a couple of minutes, please, so then we can leave the floor for a couple of minutes for questions. Sorry, thank you.
Just to mention sustainable mobility, waste management, water management. Now we are starting our work in soil under very big European project Humus, and something that is really horizontal, to be together with citizens, to organize campaigns, and to try to provide their knowledge through festivals and through, how to say, participatory initiatives. And of course, very instrumental for this, in order to provide some pilot examples, are the European projects. Here are some of just a few of them that we are partnering. And of course, we have many obstacles, among which is the data collection. And I believe that this will be registered by the Covenant of Mayors and addressed with due tools, because in order to implement evidence-based policies, we need data. Unfortunately, on local level, we do not have very big diversity of this data, and we rely on the channels that we can develop. Thank you for the opportunity, and sorry for the short time that we have, but anyway, we are very happy to present our model here in Gabrovo.
Wonderful, thank you so much. I think it's really interesting, and yeah, to see all great efforts that you are doing. Thank you so much. And also, yeah, that's true, the availability of data, especially really downscaled and local data, it's something really challenging and difficult. Okay, different in all parts of Europe, but as Covenant of Mayors, we are trying to do the best also to further improve our collaboration with other relevant European players. So yeah, I invite you to keep updated with our channels and maybe see further improvements. We have a question for you here in the chat, so I think that you addressed already this question while you were presenting. It's how do you include the monitoring of indoor air quality in all categories of indoor environments, such as schools, residences, hospitals, museums, and so on?
Just a brief answer. Many of our schools currently are implementing small projects that are exactly in this focus, and many of our schools now have measurement devices that are taking care of the quality of the internal climate, and probably with the time we will manage to integrate all this data into our platforms. But yet, and this is something that we are doing with our energy projects, because we are introducing integrated building management systems. So this is something that is very much on our everyday activities, and I hope that we'll manage to cover all the institutions, all schools, hospitals, cultural institutions.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So any further question from participants or not, as we are already 6 minutes late and I think people are busy with other things? Yeah, I think it's time to wrap up this really interesting webinar, and we saw how small municipalities and rural areas can play a really big and crucial role all over Europe, I would say all over the world. And we already know which are the challenges, the gaps, the hampering factors, but we saw that there are a lot of opportunities and solutions now, and we have already a lot of tools developed and promoted, programs by the Commission. We have a lot of examples of multi-level governance, group of municipalities or small municipalities going along, like the city of Gabrovo, and getting results really. So I invite you all to follow our activities, the European Commission activities on climate and energy, and for any further question, please feel free to write an email to us or to our speakers. Whole presentations, including the recording of this webinar, will be available in a few days in our website and in our communication channels. So thank you again to all speakers for their amazing presentation. Thank you for all interesting questions that you wrote in the chat, and hello, goodbye to everybody, and see you soon in other channels. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.